Hi, I'm Claire Mueller, brand strategist, creative, and founder of Acid Flowers. I've been working with startups and as a brand creative for over 10 years, so I've learned a thing or two about what's important and what's not when you're starting something new. I started my career in technical production for theatre and film, have a degree in fashion design, and studied physiotherapy before I fell into the wide world of startups, across both tech and physical product. As someone who thinks left brain, right brain, so I'm a creative but also a data nerd, I've always been fascinated by how brand communications are make or break for a business, because understanding your brand really is about understanding your business. It doesn't have to be complicated, but clear and consistent brand communications makes everything work better. To do this effectively, you really need to understand what your brand is and what it's not, which should be done before you start getting into the design phase. In this course, I'm going to teach you how to build the foundations of a strong brand without breaking the bank. We'll go through the steps I do when I'm working on development for a new brand, and I'll share resources that will help you define and refine your brand, no matter what industry you're in. This is an amended version of a brand sprint, which is a workshop run by strategists to guide people through the discovery process and draw out all the important information. This course will be helpful if you're starting a new venture, whether that's developing a physical product or offering a service, or if you're feeling a bit lost with your current brand and need to tighten up your messaging. In this course, we're going to chat through why branding is an integral part of any business and why it's important to actually think about it before you start any design work, understanding your market, including customers and competitors, defining your USPs, which is your unique selling propositions, then how to use this information to inform evolving your tone and visual direction. There are a number of worksheets to help you go through along the way. They'll be available in the course download section. Also, just some housekeeping. When I say product, I mean physical product, like this Moodlier piece, but also digital or intellectual product, like an app or a creative service. Whatever your business is doing is your product offering. Let's get started. Why branding is an integral part of any business, and why it's important to think about it before you design anything. You know that your brand isn't your logo. It's not your website, it's not your product or your people or your purpose. It's the ephemeral glue that holds all of these together. The way you frame your reason for existing and how you make people feel about how you do what you do. No matter what you're offering as a business, you want people to understand what that is. You want them to be picking up what you're putting down. This might sound overly simplistic, but it's one of the hardest things to really nail. What you are and what you're not as a brand influences every business decision you make, so it's important to put the time in at the start. You want to be clear about what you do and how you're different to the other options out there. First, let's talk about customer and market analysis. To connect with your market, you need to understand your market. Having a great product is no guarantee of success. To make a go of it, you need to have product market fit, which means the right thing in front of the right audience, presented in the right way. Very few people hit this straight up. It's an evolving journey, but you can improve your chances by understanding the landscape you're working in. You do this through market research. Market research is a broad topic, and there are a lot of different ways to approach it. So we're going to do a basic version and break it down to two segments: customers and competitors. Customers are the people who want your product or service. You're solving a problem for them, so it's important to really understand what that problem is. The traditional way of framing this in marketing is customer personas, a made-up ideal customer or set of ideal customers who are buying your product. You can get really detailed on customer personas, but I think this approach often misses the mark. While sometimes it can be helpful to get into specifics on what car they're driving or what soda they drink, one also needs to consider the problems they need to solve and where they get the information to solve those problems. This is what's known as jobs to be done, which is a framework used in user-centered design. The point of a customer analysis is to understand the emotional drivers behind decisions and the practical ways that people access products or information. This will allow you to understand what style of communication will be appropriate, so you can develop the right tone of voice and visuals to appeal to the right people, and how they go about discovering new things, so you can work out where to focus your efforts to reach them. For a simple customer analysis, think about what problems your brand will be solving and how someone would go about solving that now. I like to keep it simple in a table, you can find a template in the download section. Jobs to be done. The customer is who, needs to, which is why, so they, which is how. It's tempting to be really literal here, but think about motivation. Some actions are driven by a functional need. There's a nail in your tyre, so you need a new tyre. But many are emotional. You want to feel a sense of wonder in nature, so you want to go on an off-road adventure, so you need to buy four-wheel drive tyres. Think about who is going to be taking that action, why they're taking that action, and then how they'll go about taking that action. This doesn't have to be complex. Start with a few key points that are most relevant to what you're offering. And you can be as expressive or as brief as you like here. It's a tool that is helping you get a better understanding of who you're speaking to. Competitors are the other brands in the landscape. Yes, we're all unique flowers, but your brand doesn't exist yet. So to give it the best chance of success, you want to spot the white space, which is the gaps in the market that aren't already saturated. This isn't about copying or being inspired by what someone else is doing. This is about making sure you have enough differentiation to really stand out. It sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't. Start with a solid Google on the product or service category you're launching and suss out what's there. Look at their websites, their social accounts, sign up to their mailing lists. You want to be looking through your customers' eyes and thinking about whether they're solving the problems you defined earlier. Pull out a list of the 10 most comparable competitors, then slice and dice them in ways that make sense to your category. This might be about cost, style, availability, or any other factor. It depends on your industry. For example, more expensive or less expensive, edgy or neutral, limited or readily available. I find it's helpful to pull these into a comparison chart. You can find a template in the download section. Set up an X and a Y axis with two key factors. Then add in where your competitors sit in the market. Do this a few times comparing different factors and you'll start to find that white space where there are obvious gaps. This is the white space where opportunities lie. Make a note about what these opportunities are. The benefit of going through this process is that by doing so, you also get a good overview of the visual style and tone of these main competitors. Once you've done some work on customers and competitors, you're in a much better position to understand where your brand will sit and what you can lean into to make it stand out. Now is the fun part, onto your brand. Defining your offering and USPs. So you've worked out who your brand is for, you've got an idea about how they're going to find you, and what else is out there. So now you need to think about what your brand actually is. The goal here is to distill down a simple statement that clearly explains why your brand exists. Simon Sinek, a business author and thought leader, taught us to start with why, which is the core reason your brand is here.
I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do.
You could make 100 different products or do 100 different things, but this reason won't change. Ultimately, this is the thing that will drive you forward, and all your brand decisions will be made with this in mind. Extended brand sprints also go through how and what, but I find this is often redundant for creative or lifestyle brands because there's a lot of crossover. So I combine them into what we do. So why we're here and what we do. I find it's helpful to think about this in a really short, snappy way, just a few words. As a short sentence, and also as a paragraph, as it forces you to focus in on the things that are really important. Values and personality. What do you care about as a brand, and how do you want to express this? Thinking about your brand values and personality go a long way in defining the tone of your brand and how people perceive what you're putting out there. There's a worksheet in the download section with some examples to start with. Think back to your why statement and list the main things that are important to your brand. Think about this as what you're proud of. So for values, I frame this as we value being, and for personality, how someone would describe you. Values could be future-focused, creative, inclusive, knowledgeable, technically innovative, and personality could be edgy, playful, disruptive, authoritative, or bold. Brand personality is how you're going to be projecting this, and will inform both the tone of voice and visual direction. The goal here is to set some guidelines about how you want to be perceived, which will give you a basis to express this through all of your brand touchpoints. Aim for about 5 per section. USPs, which is unique selling propositions, also known as proof points. What are the things that are going to make you different to everyone else out there? Dot point the key elements of your brand, business, or offering that are unique to you.